I've never been in any other agency other than the agency that I'm in, which is really great, but it's really tough too.
Welcome to Business Refocused, a podcast about the people, decisions, and strategies behind building a successful business. Each week, we talk with leaders and operators about what they're learning, what's working, and the challenges that come with growth. I'm Lindsay Sexton, and I'm happy to introduce you to my co-host, who just so happens to be my mom, Carey Wallace. Let's get into it. Hey, Mom, how's it going?
I'm having a good day, Lindsay. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I just had this really nice lady knock on my front door and bring me lunch. It's almost like busting your butt for 3 years to move to Charleston paid off for me. Now I get lunch delivered to my front door on a Thursday at noon.
I know. I mean, you have a very, very nice neighbor, I can tell you that, who also happens to be related to you. Yeah. I was just thinking to myself, how cool is that? Because I used to have that with my parents. They would drive by my house when I had 2 little kids and knock on the door and ask me if I needed any groceries. It's kind of a super nice thing. So, history repeats itself. Who knew? So anyway.
Who knew? Who knew?
Who knew?
Well, we've got one of our good friends on the podcast today, someone who's joining us for the second time on the podcast, which doesn't happen very frequently, but we have had 2 repeat guests come on recently. So I feel like we're just tired of not talking to our really good friends that we invited on early on, and we're just bringing them all back. I feel like we need to do like a revamp of our early days podcast when we were actually really bad at podcasting. But further ado, Kyle, welcome back to the show today.
Thanks, ladies. I appreciate it. Glad to be back.
Yeah. You were one of our very first podcasts that we recorded, and I was recording in a dark little closet with huge headphones on. I think I was only 20 years old at the time. Thank God.
Now you're so much wiser at 23 or 4 or 5.
Oh, so funny. All I remember from that
it's been so long.
podcast, all I can remember from that podcast is you got to have a little dog in them, right? You got to have a little dog in you, which is something I have repeated since we recorded that podcast. So if you didn't hear the first one, you should go back and listen to it. It was definitely well worth it, right?
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it the first time. And obviously, I'm not your average insurance agent. I'll try and keep everything as clean as I can today.
That's so funny. I'm going to go on a tangent for just a minute until we dig into this, but I will say you're definitely not the average insurance agent. You're also not the average friend. I reached out to a whole bunch of people that I knew because Lindsay had a pretty small wedding and there was no way for us to invite all the people in our industry that I consider super close friends. But I asked people to record a message about what marriage is and advice for her and her new husband as they entered into the world of marriage. And honestly, Kyle, just like the have a little dog in you stuck with me, I will never, ever forget the message that you sent to Lindsay. That's so funny.
Well, it's true, but we won't share,
Your
we won't
face
share
came on
that.
the
We'll keep it
screen.
extremely PG today.
I'll just say your face came on the screen as one of many, and I didn't know who was on it. So as people are coming on and I go, oh God, as soon as your face, I'm like, oh no.
Can we fast forward 30 seconds?
No.
Anyway, so thank you for being a great friend. All of your advice was solid. It might not be, exactly what we want to put on the airwaves today, but it's definitely good advice. No question about that.
You can chop and cut out what is not good. You can edit it.
But for today,
you're fine, Kyle.
So for today though, you and I have gotten to work together over many years, actually. You've bought an agency. We've looked at acquiring agencies. You're part of one of our masterminds and you're part of a network that we've benchmarked. And we want to talk about some of the insights that you've gotten from those experiences and how it's changed, knowing where you stand in your agency, getting that health checkup or benchmarking report. What does that do to how you run your agency, how you lead your staff, how you where you decide to focus. That's really the kind of topic we want to talk about today. So why don't we start from the top? Is there anything that stands out that you want to lead with? And if not, I'll walk you through and ask you some questions about what going through that process has done for you, Kyle.
Well, a little background is I think one thing is I've never been in any other agency other than the agency that I'm in, which is really great, but it's really tough too. Because if you've never seen how somebody else does things, there's times you're just kind of floundering. And I've been blessed to have really great friends and a network that's open and shares, and a business partner who let me try some things and then fail and flop. You know, I might be a little cocky, but I also don't think I'm the smartest guy in the room. I want to be in rooms that challenge me. So, I knew we had some issues going into the benchmarking when it came to reporting and technology. I knew people were doing it a lot better than us. And I also was self aware enough to know I'm not a detail guy, I'm a salesman and I'm an entrepreneur. So, if I get previously, if I got my P&L for the month, it was income expense, you know, and looking at the budget versus what's actual and going, okay, why is that off? You know,
Mhm.
high fiving my producers when commission expense was up. Love that. When it's flat compared to last year or down, I'm not happy. Well, it does, you may not really know what you don't know because with those numbers. So benchmarking against people who I knew and could ask them questions about what they were doing was huge for me when we really started digging down deep once we got through the pain of getting your numbers semi correct.
Yeah.
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 Well, and for you, Kyle, you had a unique situation when we went through the process because you were going through a data conversion, right? So, what was I know what you're going to say if I ask what was it like to go through the data conversion, you're going to say fucking terrible. But
I probably
when
wouldn't
you
say
were
that. Is there a 3-second delay on here? Are we going to beep that or what?
Beep. When you were look at your financials before, during, while you were going through that data conversion, what were you looking at and how often did you really go over them?
Okay, so I would look at them. I literally would look at them every month, but I also knew that they weren't right, and I didn't really care because in my world, sales cures all evil. If we're growing, what's it really matter? I knew that was wrong, but at the same token, as a salesman, it's right.
Yeah.
So leading up to our transition, which was actually before benchmarking even happened with our group, we knew we had a problem. We were trying to address it. And if you're asking me how did it go, it went 180 degrees different than what every salesperson with any, I don't care if it's Applied, Vertifor, Hawksoft, any other management system says, oh, the conversion will be great. No, it's not. It's not. It just, they don't
Yeah.
get it all. And you got to understand that going in. So it is 6 months of pain with your staff because they're learning something new. It's as if you guys all showed up at the same day to a brand new job and you've got to learn how to do this. Your numbers aren't correct. So your operations and accounting people are pulling their hair out. And it takes about a year to actually get where you're more comfortable, which we are now. So going into where we were doing that, it was a struggle because I knew the things that you guys were asking for, my numbers weren't right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Big picture guy, I kind of know what the numbers are, but to drill down and get accurate, that was difficult for us. So
Well, Kyle,
the
you
pain
said
was
something
real.
really important. Yeah. You said, I've only ever seen one agency. And number two, whatever it is, I can sell my way out of it. But from a benchmarking standpoint, just numbers going up, sure, they're going in the right direction. I think benchmarking gives you a much deeper understanding of where you are compared to other agencies in your region, other agencies your size, other agencies that have the same makeup of you. So, did it change at all when you got benchmarks and you could see both in your mastermind group as well as from a network standpoint how you compared to other agencies, even from just a growth standpoint? Let's start there because you started there, so I'll start there.
Sure. I mean, absolutely it did. You know, just because we thought we were growing at a certain clip, we really weren't.
Yeah.
Um, so finding out that true number, it can be a little humbling, right? Like you're thinking, "Oh, we're doing this," and you're like, "Oh, we're really not. We're less than that." And so how do we grow properly? How do we do it, you know, rather than just beat the pavement? I mean,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
we've seriously we've got an intern right now that I'm really considering about extending an offer when he graduates from college. I'm looking at another producer because as we're looking at the future of our agency, we need to continue to get younger. Um,
Yeah.
so we're working toward that and having peers that say, "Hey, well, these are what our numbers are," and they're a lot more confident in them than what we are. And here's how we're getting there.
Mhm.
It's you go, okay, well, I can do that. That's a small minor tweak.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, in a mastermind setting, I think it's really powerful because it's one thing to sit in a room where people talk about what they're doing, but when behind them you can see their growth rate, their profitability, their volume, their staff size, their whatever, now it puts context to say, hey, they actually have done something that I've not been able to do, or they've done it in a different way than what I've taken. It makes you listen and pay attention and maybe dig deeper into how did you do that? How did you get from where I am to where you want to be? Or they might be coming to you saying, hang on a minute, that's not the way we did it. Is there another way? Because the reality is there's more than one way to skin a cat. There's no two ways around that. Right.
Oh,
So,
100%. We've been so blessed with both the masterminds that I'm in that, first of all, geography in one of them, there's no real competition, right? Which we all understand going into a mastermind, that is a huge thing.
yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
if there's competition with you and the person sitting across the table from you, they're not going to be extremely forthcoming. You figure it out yourself. If you can pick it up from somebody from across the country, they don't care. But a lot of times, geographically, we're facing the same issues, you know, whether it be, what we're paying our account managers and we're losing them to, you know, bigger agencies within a city that have higher premiums and they're managing the same amount of policies, but they're paid more because the commission on those numbers are more. So, I mean, to run into those situations where you don't have that competition shutting you down is huge. The other one with the group we're part of, we essentially have non-competes with each other. So even if we're in the same geography, we're all friends. We all work together because we all want to see each other win. And you just get so much more out of it.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
100%. So, Kyle, from what you looked at prior to your data conversion and getting a lot of this work done, you said you would look at actual to budget and you'd looked at what new was coming in and you were happy if it was good, you were sad if it was bad. Do you look at any other metrics now that you've gone through benchmarking and getting like an agency health check?
One thing we've really started to focus on is revenue per employee. Um,
Okay.
that's huge for us. When my business partner built this agency that I purchased, he based his model on really high service people. Things got turned around extremely quick. You know, if somebody made a phone call and needed a quote, we're doing it right then. And it didn't matter whoever was available that's who they were doing it right then and there. Certificate of insurance
Gotcha.
right then and there. And why that's really important for customer experience, right? I think we can all agree on that. It's really hard to maintain when you want people to have some sense of a work-life balance and be able to be away from here and, you know, a lot of the other things, core values that we hold on to within our agency. So we just consistently would throw that metric almost out and, just hire the next person because everyone was busy. Uh,
Mm.
and that was really difficult. In the process of doing that, you know, we have some really loyal staff that have been here for a long time and now they're starting to age out. So for me to look at revenue per employee, I'm looking at okay, what can I do to maybe help the people who are in my agency continue to give that level of service, but maybe get rid of the processing day-to-day minutia junk that they have to do. And then when these people age out and decide to retire, do I have to replace all of them? I mean, if we're being really honest, I have 4 right now who have crested 60 who, you know, they've done well with their families and they could probably retire tomorrow if they wanted to. They could walk in and say, "Hey, I'm
Mhm.
out." And
Mhm.
and that would be a huge hole to fill as far as a
Yeah.
person. So how do we kind of handle that on the front end before that happens? And then we can be more strategic about who we hire to keep our revenue per employee, more at a true benchmark or even a best practices type number.
I think revenue per employee is one of the metrics that is changing the most because people have utilized VAs, which have caused the revenue per employee to go down because it's cheaper to put VAs on your team. So your head count is higher than what it could be. Where you are in your cycle of your agency could be a huge factor. If you're growing very, very rapidly, you might be staffed for growth, but it's a metric that gives you some sense of where am I and how am I? How do I compare to other agencies my size? As long as you look at it with other context, am I tech forward? Am I using AI? Am I using other tools within the agency? Then my revenue per employee should actually be higher than an agency. It should be creating capacity for me, and therefore I should have a higher number than someone else. And I think once you have that context around it, you can start to use that metric in a different way rather than I just want to be at benchmark or I just want to be at this number. Was and I think it also allows you, again, if you know the numbers of people around you and what they're doing, now the context of their advice and what they're doing has far more meaning. Is there any action that you've taken in the last year or whatever about revenue per employee as the marketplace is changing? You've listened to other agencies. Like, are there any specific things that you're thinking differently because of that area of the benchmarking report?
Yeah. So we'll take a little bit of the long way around, but the answer is absolutely. I always have said that every industry, if you're going to be really good at it, is a people industry. You have to, have to be a connector. You have to be connected. So we've always been people heavy within our organization. And we don't want to get away from that completely, but we do have to change if we're going to really look at this number and drill down and try and, make it one of the top benchmarks that we look at. So VAs I've always struggled with because I want them to be able to be forward facing. And let's face it, in rural America, when you're hiring somebody that's outside of the country, there are people who don't want to deal with that. They don't want to talk on the phone or anything else. So, and we've never had the turnover to say, hey, we're going to replace Janet with, and jokingly Filipino Janet from a VA. So we've not gone down that road yet. We investigated it, but we just never did anything. And Janet in our office has been, 3 days a week for the last year. And she says, hey, I'm leaving on September 1. And we're really happy for her that she gets to retire and do whatever she wants. But that, again, that leaves a hole. Talking to my counterparts, that's where we're really driving this now. We're gonna reinvest the dollars that we are spending on Janet's part-time employment with multiple AI platforms. You know, my first and best use of time is to go out and sell insurance. And I spend a lot of time managing the agency. I hired an operations manager who's now 3 years in, and she has learned a ton. She's really great, but has not taken on as much as she can because she's doing a lot of the accounting and she's doing it manually. And so we've interviewed several AI platforms to take on the accounting portion of hers where she can just, spot check multiple carriers and maybe, a dozen policies a month to make sure that they're correct, make sure we don't have any problems. we're not sure if we're going to hire or build a bot to do it, or we're going to hire an AI platform. But we've investigated both, and one of those is going to happen.
Yep.
With our personal lines team, raters are a struggle for us because they're never correct. And remarket's a real problem for
Hmm.
them because, as we know, as we shift into the soft market, you're going to have to remarket more. In a hard market, you go, hey, it's nothing you can do about it. You can't move you anyway, but
Right.
now, like, if we don't try and save the customer some money, somebody else will.
That's right.
So we've actively we just are signing up with an organization that will do a lot of service-based stuff. We'll actually remarket our book as it's coming through, and we're gonna see how that works. In addition, we've signed up with some stuff for our commercial lines team that will do the accords, which will build sales proposals. The people we've lost in our organization on the producer side have been really strong producers too. So I've got 5 years in the business, 3 years in the business, almost 2 years in the business for my 3 other producers. There are times where, I think if a sales proposal was built using this AI tool that we're using, which is phenomenal, just gives them something to walk in and be confident with,
Yeah, no
right?
doubt. I
It
mean, the
gives them
knowledge
gives them the
alone, right?
highlights.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
100%. So that's where we have gone, and we had a meeting 2 weeks ago, and You know, I am not ready, aim, fire. I am ready, fire, aim. And if you throw enough lead in the air, you'll hit something. So we just, my staff goes, oh, here's the next thing he's going to try. Right. I spent 3+ months really trying to figure out how to make this work, which was worked against everything that I do. And I told him, I said, we're burning the boats. We are
Yeah.
absolutely not going back. Now, these 3 tools that we've used or we're hiring, they may be here a year and we may go to the next thing, right?
Yeah.
Because again, somebody's selling it to you. It looks good when you start it. You have to tweak it. I'm learning that you have to teach it because it's AI, you know. But as we do that, there may be something better come along quickly because it's technology. But if I can take accounting off of Megan's plate and she can start doing some management, and I can take remarketing off of my first line's account manager's plate, and they can go to actually managing the accounts and being proactive because that's already being done. And my commercial lines people can do apps faster, get things turned quicker, and give proposals to my producers. My producers are more forward facing, they're more confident. My commercial lines account managers are more, you know, have more time to work on other things and be forward facing with the client. And same with my personal lines people. Megan can manage the agency better, and I can go out and sell and give me some time back to do what's first and best use of my time. And at the end of the day, as people age out and retire, we may or may not replace them or all of them. Because again, like I said, we got 4 right now, which again will adjust our revenue per employee.
So we just started that conversation with revenue per employee, but just to recap for a minute. But your measurement of success is my growth improving? Is my revenue per employee improving? And is my overall profitability improving? Really are the things that you're going to know when I make these changes. I want Kyle to sell more. I want your operations person to be able to run the agency and take the time load off of you to create capacity for more sales. I want my producers to win more because they're able to do that, which means more revenue. I want my service people to actually account round, which would lean into service, but also retain more because they're now advising rather than doing processing work, which would lead to higher profitability, higher retention, all of these things. If it doesn't work, let's say you made all these investments in AI and you didn't replace that one role or a few roles, and those things don't move, you reassess. But what allows you to know, did I move the needle, is having the benchmark when you start, having the benchmark for the industry, and having the performance where you are. So, really getting that core where are we allows you to be able to analyze what you're doing, correct?
Absolutely. And the ultimate goal is still somewhat the same as we started with. The customer experience and the service we provide is still top notch when we do it.
Yeah,
We're
no
just
doubt. You
more
don't want to give
proactive.
that up. Yeah, you don't want to
Yes,
give that up. Sure, of course. Yeah.
100%. Yeah, I agree with you.
If there's someone that's in your shoes a year ago that's sitting there, I don't actually know if my financials are accurate. My data's all over the place. What do I do? What advice would you give them in order to start the process and get it figure outable and be able to tell where they are to start?
Carrie, you might get mad at me. I'm sorry. I'm going to apologize in advance because I wrote it on my board in front of me when we got back from our last masterminds, and it's FFIO. And I won't tell you the first word, but it's figure it out. All right. And I, I'm 46. I've got a 23-year-old son, a 21-year-old son, and a 17-year-old son that understand more about AI than I do. And they're not going to help me. Right. But I had to start, you have to find a group that you can bounce ideas off of if you really want to improve. I see a lot of agencies that, are doing the same thing that they've always done, and they're getting the same results that they've always got. Right. But my friendships and my mentorships and things and my mastermind groups, they're so important. Second, at some point you have to put your foot in the ground and go, okay, I'm going to do it. It took me a long time to get there. Carey beat me over the head for 5 years about our management system, that it wasn't giving us what we needed. Right. It was at least 5 years.
True.
We're a year in. I'm not sure it's better. I think it's better. I don't know that I like it any better, but at the end of the day, it will help us. I mean, once I get over the pain.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to, really digging into numbers, and then, just for AI, for example, I don't know anything about it, but you got to start. You just got to go, okay, I'm going to sit in on 4, you know, Zooms with somebody who says, hey, listen, take a look at my product. I guarantee you'll sit there and think differently after you've done it and gone, oh my gosh, why are we doing this? And you've got to want to reinvest back into your agency. I mean,
Yeah. It's hard to know where to reinvest if you don't actually dig in. That's the thing. I think people say some of the stuff you're saying, Kyle, but if you don't take the plunge and find out where you are and where your strengths are, where your weaknesses are, and have some kind of guardrails to use, it does feel like you're doing this almost blind or out there by yourself. And the reality is you don't need to. You really don't. So I think that's fabulous advice. I think you need to surround yourself with people that can give you that context. I think you need to surround yourself with people that are investing and thinking about growth forward, not the way we've always done it. And then part of it is, I think you just have to jump. Got to have the guts to jump. You got to have a little dog in you, right?
FFIO.
There it is, my friend. Well, it's always a pleasure to talk to you, Kyle. It truly is. And I think it's great advice. Yeah. So I look forward to seeing you and seeing you live and in person next week. And thanks for coming and being our guest.
Are you gonna come when I'm the moderator at our one session? You want to see how that goes?
I can't wait.
Heck yeah.
I'm taking your job,
It'll be
Carey.
front row.
Oh, should be good.
So.
Thanks so much for tuning in to the Insurance Refocused podcast. If you enjoyed the episode, please be sure to hit subscribe and leave us a review so you'll never miss us. Want to learn more about how Agency Focus can help you grow your agency? Head to agency-focus.com or email Carey directly at carey@agency-focus.com. If you need to get in touch with me, feel free to shoot me an email at lindsay@agency-focus.com. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you next week.